Hello friends and welcome. Patch 7.37e came out a little bit earlier today. We're going to go through it quickly because it's mostly minor changes that are going to lead to what I think will be less than 1% win rate changes for those heroes, except for a couple exceptions, and those are the ones we're mainly going to talk about. Let's get into it. Item changes, whatever. A very small nerf to Conda, which only a few heroes buy, and they will be able to buy it 100 gold faster, but they'll get 15% less of their attack damage on the spell proc thing. Luna's Morphlings, they're not going to be able to one-shot you as easily. It's going to take 2 shots now. Wowee. Alchemist, very good carry. Buff to the acid spray at level 1, but it's going to be 10 more mana at max level. Unstable Concoction up to 17 seconds, which will be annoying for alchemists who take seed money, which is the main facet people go for. They are buffing Mixologist to be 35% instead of 30%. I think really just to compensate this 2-second change to Unstable Concoction. Sure, I don't know. I'm kind of up for trying a support Alchemist build for this, but a lot of people who do support Alch still take seed money and just start with more items. Minor buff to Anti-Mage's Strength, minor nerf to Axe. Bane, he's a very average hero. Buff in the early game, it's actually more expensive in the late. I don't know. I don't expect much from this. Batrider, 5% buff to the damage on Smoldering Resin, sure. Beastmaster, first pick worthy competitive pro hero, 5 damage less on Drums of Slum. Now, I know Drums of Slum, you're like bop, 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 banging that drum, so 5 is actually more than you would think, but still less than I would think a first pick worthy hero would be nerfed with. But it's a very minor patch, just small buffs and nerfs, I guess. Bounty Hunter feels like he got nerfed more than Beastmaster, and he's not even that good at the pro level, but his pub win rate is very high at the higher ranks. 10 more mana, I think it's fine. Depending on your build, you might be more likely to build Arcane Boots, maybe pick a neutral that helps you with mana, maybe you have to buy a couple more Clarities, but I think this is quite manageable. Brewmaster, a little bit more intelligence for do his power, 2 more, slight buff to Drunken Brawler, sure. Bristleback, I actually like this one. 250 less cast range on Hairball because he would just shoot it from really far away, cancel blinks, slow you down, start building up the stack so he could catch up to you, continue to spit on you. Gross. A little less cast range. Doesn't particularly target, I feel, why he is super good. This is just an element of that, but I guess you start somewhere. Clockwerk, he's been a really stable support. They're going to nerf him a bit further, his farming speed on the Battery Assault. They're also going to change his 10 talent. -2 power cogs was the more popular one, though the other is -2 seconds on Rocket Flare, which was pretty good, and people would often choose between the two. Now this one's going to be hookshot damage. And if you're taking Expanded Armature, you're going to go with the other talent in pretty much every game. If you take Hookup, maybe this 75 hookshot damage could be cool because you can actually use it to farm. You can hookshot to your own creeps when they're fighting enemy creeps, and you'll do like a big AoE from the facet, and I guess you'll do more damage, and that could be your farming speed, maybe? I don't know. I'll try it once, I guess, but I think you just take Expanded Armature and go with the Rocket Flare. Minor buff to Dazzle, minor buff to Disruptor. Earth Spirit is one of the best mids in the game. His farming speed is going to be a little worse with the Boulder Smash. Some talents are being moved around and slightly nerfed. I think he'll still be solid, but maybe not like a first pick support. Or sorry, first pick mid. Elder Titan, this buff seems really good. If you've been interested in Elder Titan, this is the time. Deconstruction, instead of all disappearing right away, they're going to lose 1 stack per second. The same way they gain 1 stack per second, which if you've forgotten, Deconstruction, it does, Natural Order does what it does, but it also reduces the enemy's armor by 1 and the magic resistant by 1% per second. The issue is you would chase them for 5 seconds, get them to a point where they have like -5 armor. Oh, I'm going to win the trade now with Astral Spirit. Fantastic. They've gotten under their tower. They've gotten away from you. They've taken the trade long enough that you're also at 50 health and you don't really want to keep fighting. So you back away and then they're perfectly good to go. Or you would walk next to them a bit. They would have a mobility spell, just slightly get ahead of you, lose every stack they built up, and then immediately turn and start fighting. Now, it's going to be more like Poison Touch from Dazzle, which is you might get away, and he can't hit you, which is great, but you cannot reapproach, or else he will start hitting you again because you are still affected by Poison Touch, or in this case, deconstruction. So you get away with -7 armor. You have to wait 7 seconds. Maybe you don't have to wait the whole time. Maybe you wait like 4 seconds before you can walk back in. And if he tries to fight you, you're not totally screwed. But I think this is a huge buff to Elder Titan. You're also getting 20 more damage on Echo Stomp. Seems really good. Solid nerfs to Enchanters, who deserves it. 70 flat mana for Enchant is a bunch, up from 40, and 3 seconds less on Nature's Attendant. These are her 2 main abilities that she uses to win the laning stage. And then, if you've forgotten, her innate abilities, actually the neutral creeps are stronger versus the enemy team. So she kicks your ass in the lane, and then the creeps kick your ass in the jungle while you're trying to farm up. It was a really nasty combo, and her early game is just going to be nerfed to compensate. I think this one is solid. Enigma and Eidolons are going to be worth a little bit more. I think that's fairly minor. Grimstroke, they're fixing, I assume, the fine art's not even good compared to the other facet. I like this a lot, but no one really uses it. But I think the way to use it when this eventually gets buffed or the other one gets nerfed is that you cast it at max range, but you actually have it loop in the other direction. So for example, you stand in the lane, have it hit the small camp, and then shoot back into the lane with a bunch of bonus damage. But sometimes you would have it go the max range, and then it would go, and stop. And so I think that's what this is fixing, but it doesn't actually make the ability better. It just fixes some of those like buggy situations. So I still don't think a lot of people are going to take it. Gyrocopter, small nerf. Invoker, really solid mid, except I think he got figured out as the patch went on. So the nerfs to him are not that big. I think they could be bigger. I think he's still a good hero, but deserved at least a small nerf, which is what he got. Jakiro, I think I like this. This is going to bring the Q cooldown from 10 seconds to 8 if you take this talent, which they kept nerfing attack range, and it feels a little bad to take that, but I didn't really love this one either. I think this will be better, but I'll try. I'm not sure if it's that much better. Juggernaut has 6 seconds less cooldown on level 1 Blade Fury. If you can pick up some earlier kills, you can kind of snowball. I think that's one of the main ways this hero has going for it. Otherwise, not that great of a carry compared to many others. Though some of the others got nerfed, so maybe that's also good for Juggernaut indirectly. Kez, I think he's a really cool hero. I made a guide for him, and then he got nerfed. I think he's currently viable even with this change. So the early Echo Slash, 5 less damage. I don't think that was really needed, but whatever. 10 more damage at max level at least. Grappling Claw, the flat lifesteal is going to be less. I think that's fair, deserved. I do think he's viable as a 4 support. For those of you wondering, I need to play it more. I haven't gotten to play him a bunch since they did the nerf. I did try it a couple times though, and it feels viable, but you really got to know the combos. Before that nerf, he was very simple. Press Q, win the lane, snowball. Now there's more complexity to it because he has been rightfully nerfed, and you're going to have to know the combos better. I need to learn the combos more to really understand if it's viable, and then I will share it with you guys at that time. Minor nerf to Legion Commander, minor nerf to Lich, minor buff to Lina, minor nerf to Lion. Luna's a little bit more significant, so the night vision down, but still going to be better than most other heroes. I think that's fine. The big one here is that 80 Lucent Beam damage is being moved from level 15 to level 20, where it is stronger, but the timing of it is a lot worse. So if you think about Luna at level 15, she can join fights. She might still be in that farming phase, but she can join, pop Eclipse, win a team fight, take towers, roach, objectives, whatever. At level 20, you are more likely to run into people who have BKBs, glimmers, pipes. They can force staff away, get away from the Eclipse. They have satanics, they're healing up. Maybe they don't have a satanic, I don't know. The thing is just, although it's more damage, it is more likely to be dodgeable or dealable, reduced, whatever, at level 20. And it was more the early Eclipses that were making use of Lucent Beam damage, as well as just regular Qs in team fights, that you would win you fights to build up that gold and level advantage to then win the late game. So I think this is, I think it's fair. It might actually be a little heavy-handed, but I know Luna was kind of a real pain to deal with in pub, so maybe it's fine. The way to actually deal with Luna is kind of tricky in pubs compared to pros, so maybe this is fine. We'll keep an eye on the win rate. Lycan, this seems like a minor buff. Medusa, this is a bigger nerf. So instead of just being a 1-point wonder, which you just got right away, Venomous Volley now scales off of Split Shot. You do get a very weak version for free before you level up Split Shot, but I said it's weak. 15% slow instead of 35, 20 attack speed slow instead of 80. So much less impactful. And until you max it out, it doesn't get back to where it used to be. And you don't usually max split shot right away, especially in the laning stage. You usually go like Mystic Snake, Gorgon's Grasp, Mystic Snake, and then get your first point at of split shot at level 4 if you're going to do that. Oftentimes you like held the skill point until you knew you wanted to start shoving the lane and then jungling. So it's going to take a while till you get to split shot. When you do, it'll be a little stronger at level 1, but nerfed at max level. And then you're also squishier because the amount of damage required to remove your mana is a little less. All very fair nerfs. Her win rate is nuts, pubs and pros. I think this might not be enough, but we'll see where after, a couple days of this patch, if that's actually true or not. Monkey King, 0.1 second to dodge things. That's going to be tough. Very tricky, but I think well-deserved. This is a high skill ceiling ability, in my opinion, and 0.1 seconds reflects that. You're going to need to be very on point with the timings and potentially have good ping. Muerta, the calling, seems like, I guess, a fine nerf. I don't even know if Muerta needed to be nerfed. She is a very high skill support. As a carry, she wasn't that good. You had to land your skill shots. The calling helped. She was popular in pros. I guess that's why she's being nerfed. But a lot of pub players don't get to fully enjoy Muerta because landing the skill shots is kind of tricky. Though I guess you also have more time to scale up. Maybe, I don't know. I guess this nerf is fine. This nerf is good and deserved, and Naga will still be a good hero. She is 100% pick banned, usually banned, because she wins the lane off of Deluge, and then Song of the Siren is just such a free reset and catch throughout the entire game. It was way too good. That's why she's 100% pick banned at tier 1 tournaments. Deluge, 80 mana now at all levels instead of 50, which this is already post 1 nerf. Now there's a second nerf to Deluge. Fair. I think she will just be good. I think she will actually slip through the banning phase a couple times, and you'll get to see her picked up where she will still try to win the laning stage, and she probably will in certain matchups, but it'll be harder to. She'll still have Song after that. So she'll still have impact, but she won't have set up multiple heroes throughout the map to be winning, and so it'll be a more proper Dota game. I think this is fair. I'm not sure if this is enough, or maybe it's too much, but I do think she really needed a nerf, and I'm glad to see something like this. Natures, at max level, the Treant is pretty much worth twice as much as it was before in terms of golden XP, which a lot of Natures just AFK, A-click the Treants down the lanes to shove them out, so you should be able to farm up a little bit more gold. Even if you can't get the last hit because the structure armor type is really tough, as they die to your towers, you're going to be fed 60 XP instead of 30, which does add up if you think about how frequently he sends these out. OD, a little bit of a buff. I actually think 0.5 seems kind of nice. I thought we would see more OD, but we don't. But maybe now we will with this, along with the nerfs to other mid heroes, such as Pango, who Thunderbolt, after Double Jump got nerfed a bit. People were going Thunderbolt because you used to need a cliff to chain stun someone, so you could like bounce between the cliff and the hero. Thunderbolt made you fast enough that you could actually just like spin in an empty circle and chain stun people sometimes, depending on exactly what was happening. They're going to nerf the turn rate, which is going to mean the circle takes longer, which means it's harder to do that chain stun without a cliff, but still better than not having Thunderbolt, I think, since I haven't actually seen this in action. But that's the idea behind this nerf, which I think is okay. Pretty minor buff to Phantom Lancer. I guess a nerf to Primal Beast. He's actually going to be doing more damage with Pulverize at max level, but the early farming Pulverizes are worse. So a nerf to him overall. They all seem minor, but I guess there's 3. Maybe it'll add up to be a more sizable nerf. Puck, not nerfed enough. Like, maybe this is reasonable to Primal Beast. Puck is really good in my opinion, and the spell dodge on Puckish is only going from 4 to 3.5. I don't know. I still think this hero is way too good. Orb damage. Oh no, 10. Okay, what the heck is this, guys? 1% down on spell amp, 1% up on outgoing spell damage. Reflected. I don't know. That's pretty minor. Strength nerf. This strength nerf seems more than this, and it's 1 strength. I don't know. Ringmaster has his Ags. Conceptually, it's cool. So you're going to get 2 charges of it, and it's a save, so it's nice to have those charges in the right game, but it's a tricky save because there's a double edge element to it where you're muting, disarming, silencing your teammates. So you can't just throw it out for fun like most saves, but especially this one. So 2 charges is still nice, but the fact that when it opens, it does damage 300 flat, and then it also shoots out the Impalement Arts. Don't get me wrong, in the right situation, that's going to be really nice, but the right situation is the tricky part, because if you need saves so much that you're like, let me buy that 4,200 gold item for the saves, that's already tough to do. You're not going to do that when you're winning because you don't need the save. So it's really when you're losing, you got to get to the Aghanims. You're going to get the 2 saves, sure. Oh, we get more damage now. Well, still have to hold the ability until we actually need the save, because if I use it for fun early, kind of grief my teammate because they can't do anything in Escape Act. So I'm not really sure how I feel about this, but I haven't tried it yet. So I'm going to, once I get a chance, and I don't even know where I'm going to work it into the build, which I want to tell you guys ahead of time. You might be thinking like Impalement Arts, that sounds good, right? If they're right on top of the hero. You can hit the same hero with multiple Impalement Arts, I checked, but Impalement Arts doesn't stack unless they're going to change that. They'll get hit by the impact damage, which is 75. Wow. 75 damage for, let's say you hit 3, right? Sure, but it doesn't stack the percent HP damage, which is maybe what you guys are thinking about if you don't know that interaction. So because it doesn't really stack, I'm not that impressed with it. On paper, I will try it out, let you guys know. Spotlight is being made more consistent. I think this is a buff overall, but Spotlight's not even that relevant in every single game, so I don't think that's a huge deal. Though maybe it's a preemptive buff. When illusion heroes all become really good, Spotlight's gonna wreck them. Sand King, still too good after the last nerfs. This duration's not gonna match Dust Devil, and then the damage is gonna be a little less on Sandstorm. I think this is deserved. I think it's not too bad, though. So if you still like Sand King, you can keep playing Sand King. If you like Shadow Demon, you can keep playing Shadow Demon, because these buffs are fine. These nerfs are reasonable and deserved. This hero is he just offers way too much off of these 2 abilities, actually. Disruption and Demonic Purge. They're way too good. His innate ability with the poison makes his laning stage too good. That didn't get touched. So overall, I think that hero is still in a good place. So Shadow Fiend, I'm pretty sure this was just for Aegis, that when you, like 5 heroes died around you, you're at negative 10 armor aura or whatever. You die with Aegis, you keep that negative 10 armor aura as you respawn. That's going to be gone now. I think if you died normally, it did go away, but I guess I never paid enough attention to know 100% for sure. The duration's also going to be less, so you could stagger this. You get 1 kill, or you don't have to get the kill. Just someone dies near you, you have -1. Or you have 1 stack, which is -2. Right before it expires, you get another stack. You keep both, so now you're at 2. And then you just kept going for staggering kills to just slowly increase it. And then now it's been like 10 minutes and you've had this extra aura the entire time. They're going to shrink that down by a little bit. They're also going to hurt Necromastery. So it used to be 100 damage total when you had 20 souls. Now it's going to be 80. That's pretty painful. 80 per, or 20 lost damage per attack. But Feast of Souls is actually getting a pretty nice buff. People would not take Feast of Souls until the game literally made them after they maxed out stats and everything else. So now it will increase your maximum souls from 20 to 25 temporarily. You can kill things, get extra souls, get up to 25 souls, and then you lose them again at the end. People hated this because you would go from 20 to 15 after using this ability, and that was just worse. But now you could use this as a farming ability with extra attack speed, clear out an ancient camp, take a tower, whatever. And if you killed 5 things, you don't lose any souls. Maybe kill 3 things, you lose 2 souls. Not as big of a deal. You'll quickly pick them up with some last hits. I think this is far more usable, except that it costs 75 mana, which is hard to justify when Raise already costs mana and gives you farming speed. So do I need another farming speed ability? This one works on objectives and to certain extent heroes, but the mana is difficult to work in. So I think people might need to find a new build for Shadow Fiend, but that maybe with another buff. Feast of Souls looking a lot better than it was before. Minor buff to Shadow Shaman. I would call this a nerf, but it's actually just fixing a bugged interaction, which was making this hero too strong, which is going to lead to a minor nerf to him. It wasn't that big of a deal, I think, because I think it was just one extra proc. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was more than that. I still think he's going to be solid because I've seen Storm Spirits without the shard still do well. Sven, small buff. Terrorblade, offlane, a thing, I guess. Getting kind of nerfed. I can't say I have an amazing read on what offlane Terrorblade needs, so I don't actually know if this is that painful, though it doesn't seem like it is. Very small buff to Tidehunter and Treant on a facet that he never uses. Tusk, I think this one's pretty painful. The attack speed slow, used to scale with tag team or drinking buddies, which you would max first in a lot of games. So by, let's say, level 7, you are up to a 60 attack slow. Now it scales off of Walrus Punch, which is your ultimate, which you only max at level 18. Very different from the level 7 for a support, even for a core hero. So now it's going to go from 60 up to 75, so technically stronger. But if you think about it, at level 7, you were just taking fights with 60 extra attack speed over a whole group because it's an aura. So that was way better than what this is. That's a pretty big nerf. I don't know if it completely kills the hero, but it'll be pretty painful. I think people are going to prioritize Tusk a lot less. Undying got a buff. It's 10 more damage flat, which doesn't sound like a lot, but any Undying player can share a time when they were chasing someone, they thought they could get a kill at level 1, level 2, when you had 1 point in decay. You throw out the final decay, and you realize, I didn't kill them because decay doesn't do damage. It steals strength, but it doesn't do damage at level 1. So people would fall to 1 health, but not die. The early kills are actually quite significant. So the fact that it does 10 damage is enough. It literally just needed to do 1 damage to finish up the kill, which now he can, and he'll get a big burst of gold to buy 3 more mangoes and repeat the kill attempt. So I actually think this is quite a nice buff to Undying. Small buff to Venomancer and Visage. A small nerf. I actually don't think this is enough for Death Toll. Warlock, why was this not the case? When you kill the imps, they don't explode. It's now going to work that way. This is very annoying for melee heroes especially, because by the time you can actually hit a hero, the explosion was going to hit you anyways. So I'm glad they're changing this. I don't know if it hurts the hero that much, but I think it's a good change. Witch Doctor, slight nerf. Wraith King changes are interesting. So base armor is actually going up by 2, which this is one of his weaknesses in the laning stage, is getting hit a lot with his low armor, but everything else is getting nerfed. So Vampiric Spirit, Mortal Strike, Talents, all nerfed. His pub win rate is really high. His professional scene impact is really low. So I guess they're trying to balance this where the laning stage matters a lot more to pros, and that 2 armor is going to help a lot. And it doesn't tend to matter as much in pubs where the games just go late. He eventually gets reincarnation and he does carry damage. So hurting his later game impact, but increasing his laning stage isn't as impactful to pubs, is my guess at what they're trying to do here, which I think is actually kind of clever. I don't think this is perfect. I don't expect to see him at the pro level right off of this, but I do think it helps bring this more in line. Okay, that's it. Not a whole bunch in this patch. Still managed to talk for a while. I don't know. That's just how I am. But you can still kind of play most heroes except, the ones we highlighted that are a little bit more painful, like Tusk. Besides that, most should still be okay.